Where are you right now? It's not where you believe you are, because right now your brain is actually sitting alone by itself in a pitch-black room, inside the head of a hairless ape for the better part of a century. Your brain, and by extension you, have never actually seen the sun, or touched, smelled, hear or taste anything. The best you can do is interpret those things as best as it can, like a dream. You don't actually know what the sun looks like. Your only eyes give you some clues based on light that you will interpret as best you can in your lonely, dark room. You live in a complicated world that is entirely your mind's creation. This mind is constantly trying to find time and space in a reality that has neither. When you see a man in the distance standing by a fence, then later see that it's just a coat draped over a fence post, did the man ever exist? No, of course not. You so easily dismiss that fact that for a moment you believed there was a man there. Anything you believe right now is just as fragile. You are just following this mind along and believe all its interpretations. Your mind does this everywhere you look. Time is the same thing. Memory is just images that flash in your experience in the present moment, but your mind will take you to this past moment with all its detail about characters and situations, etc. There is no moment. Reality just is. You just exist. There is no need to explain anything. It is self-evident. Whatever you believe to be important or a problem that needs to be solved is just some idea you've attached to and have feelings about. Tomorrow it'll be something else. There is a war going on in some other country. It's been going on for several months now, you're told. All of a sudden this is important, a problem that needs to be solved. Meanwhile, you're still sitting in this room. Your immediate experience hasn't changed. You just believe some story you see on your computer and react to some feelings. The next day you see headline and a picture of an emaciated dog on a chain. Pet neglect is now a problem that needs to be solved. Still, your immediate experience hasn't changed. It's just thoughts and feelings have hijacked your attention, lured you into its reality. Every person is experiencing reality completely differently than any other person. Your reality is dictated by your own perspective and relative experiences, not by anything else. If you could give two clones the exact same life but slightly different perspectives, you would end up with two completely different outcomes, and probably two different opinions about the world within a few years. That being said, it's possible to be a different person than yourself if you really wanted to be. There's nothing about you or your personality that's permanent, but it's going to take twice as long. Because first, you have to undo everything that makes you who you are, then rebuild it from scratch. Turn off the television and internet an hour before bed just to listen to music and let your mind wander. You'll be surprised how much insight about the world that's already there waiting to be discovered. Your mind is half library and half cemetery. The knowledge is already there, just waiting to be dug up. And you're going to be surprised at what has been there the entire time. Imagine that you lived in a world with no other people. The concept of comparing yourself with others, financially, socially, intellectually, did not even exist. What would your goals in life be? What would you then use to define progress? What would you seek to bring you happiness from day to day? That is how you should live right now. Focus on defining yourself without a thought of other people and measuring what society tells you to value. The act of creation is neutral, so it's more about consciously creating rather than be stuck on autopilot and following program and systems without knowing why it is that you're just going through the motion. Desire is necessary to experience anything, as without it, there's no experience. Even what can be viewed as mundane, like eating, walking, or doing chores, is predicated on a desire, otherwise no action would be taken. If you want to understand the behavior of another species, what do? You just watch them. It's not right or wrong, good or bad, just is. If you want to understand how humans behave, same thing. Just watch them. Because you are a human. You are getting caught up in the human animal's mechanisms that keep them confined into the beliefs and worldviews of whatever group they happen to adopt. It can be very uncomfortable to see outside of this conditioning, but that discomfort is what keeps you trapped in it. Reality couldn't be more simple. The world of your conditioned mind is complicated and full of problems. Follow your highest excitement in the moment and flow with it. It doesn't matter if it's a small task. What excites you right now? Surely there's something, otherwise you wouldn't move. The purpose of this exercise is get into enjoying the process, and whatever happens as a result will fly by and fall into place. So it's not necessarily the outcome, but how your experience was. Did you enjoy and have fun? Look at all your life's desires. Isn't it the intention to have a joyful experience? Practice being playful with everyday moments and watch how your life starts to shift. Try sound at first. Don't listen to anything in particular, but notice how there is just sound. It just happens. It is just there. If you get distracted, annoyed, frustrated, irritated, etc., then just notice that. It's just feeling. It just happens. It's just there. All this is stuff happening in your experience. Do you need to do anything with it? Are you needed at all? Just be. Everything happens all on its own. It's all just happening. Check in with this as often as you can. Walking down the street, in line at the store, washing dishes, anytime, all the time. Nature intended for life to be short but very exciting. But for whatever reason, humans decided they prefer an excruciatingly long and dull journey, with the only excitement is watching all their friends and loved ones die. Average life for a grown man was 35 years old, and turning 65 was looked at the same way as we look at someone turning 110 years old today. One day, 110 years will be the new retirement age, and we will become slaves for a century without ever knowing we're slaves and accepting that this is life. You see where this is going, because that's where this is always going. What exactly is worry, anxiety, fear, any feeling you don't like? Turn toward that. Feel all of it and love these feelings too. Keep turning toward discomfort and love it. You will see through the illusion by looking through it. When you don't like and react to some of the feelings and impulses, you get trapped in the little human character that doesn't like them. You become the puppet. Stop, relax as much as you can, and feel those feelings. This will cut the strings. The mind, which slices and dices reality into separate manageable pieces, creates the sense of separation. It's a useful tool, but it needs to be returned to the toolbox when done. Usually awakening is the result of some kind of surrender of thinkingness, intentional or otherwise. Thinkingness isn't bad in and of itself, but it becomes a problem if it contains a narrative of me and my world. So to maintain the feeling of oneness, one needs to be vigilant of the story of separateness returning. Meditation is really about being in a state of surrender 24/7, rather than just when one is sitting, simply being aware of being aware. True freedom isn't doing whatever, but being free from your own conditioned mind. The detachment from other people's opinions is the conditioned mind in which to practice letting go of. Incorporate more awareness, as all triggers stem from the predictive programming. When you're fully conscious and present, there's nothing to trigger, as the conditioned mind isn't active. Every interaction just becomes another experience without the judgments or narratives. The matrix and the egoic mind identity are two sides of the same coin. To get affected by any program is to first agree to be programmed by it. All programming ceases and dissolves when you regain your sentience by being fully present. Expand awareness so the focus is on the moment rather than what you think of what's happening in the moment. It's not really about doing, but being. So instead of asking, "What can I do?" it's "How much am I present?" Are you on autopilot and running on the operating system of programming, or living in the moment free from all conditioning. A quick trick is to imagine appearing right now, no past or future. How do you feel? Just be here, now, and stay here. If the mind starts with the mental machinations, the conditioned egoic mind showed up again. Simply reappear right now to regain your sovereignty. In essence, go with the flow and not latch onto anything while in the flow state. A distraction is only a distraction if you agreed to get distracted. If you never leave the present, then you don't have to return to it as you're always home. There's no should, but what you can take action on right now that serves your highest self. This is to not invalidate your current state of being and to recognize the greater growth process step by step. How you feel is just a current reflection of your current state, but it's not fixed as you have the potential to change. For any disharmonious feeling, practice self-inquiry along with detachment. It's like doing film study. The scenes aren't you, and you're merely observing to gain more insights as to how the scenes played out and what you can take action on to create a different outcome. All it takes is a shift in perspective and mindset. The only delusion is not being your true self. Once you're back in alignment, then the mission is complete. Not all exit points are predicated on alignment, as your stay may also be to serve lessons for others. So even if your purpose has been fulfilled, it's no longer about your individual life plan, but to be of service to others so they can find their way back home too. There's nothing one can do to reach that goal, because the goal reaches itself. One can read all kinds of books, view all kinds of videos and media, but the key point is that you were always going to do what you were going to do. So when one comes to that, there's nothing to do except relax and let it come. That the striving to reach it ends does not mean that one will not arrive. I did not begin questioning my reality. Reality began questioning itself through me. I have not found any answers. Reality has found answers through me. This is the effortless doing of Wu Wei, to end the ego's ceaseless striving and to allow it to do itself. My adventures in manifestation ended when I asked myself, "What do you want?" And I drew a blank. Not because I couldn't use money and other stuff, but because I clearly saw that my desires are in a sense harmful. They are harmful because they are not very wise. Imagine, for example, that I would wish evil be vanquished. Next, one has to imagine what that would be like, and surprise, surprise, a tyranny of good. No rebellion, just submission. Should I manifest power for myself? I'd inflict harm on those I hold power over because power corrupts, etc. No matter what I thought I wanted, it turned out that no, that's not it. So in the end, it turns out that what I wanted is what I already have. It turned out that existence is perfect as it is. At that point, all one can do is trust that God provides not what I want, but what I need. No manifestation required. Manifestation implies that one exercises one's will upon reality. My will is that God's will be superior to my own, and so I leave it to Him. This is a submissive attitude that brings freedom from responsibility. If you manifest willfully, you have to own the results of that, whatever it might be. Are you wise enough to avoid the negative consequences or karma? The draining of energy is from exerting too much effort. Surrender the trying and start being. It's sort of paradoxical, as what you're taking action on is to enter the effortless state. So you're switching the doing mindset into being and sustaining this flow. Be here right now and stay here. Let your beingness come into the forefront so that any thoughts fade into the background. It's like resting perpetually. The moment you start trying again, energy is expended. To keep energy constantly recharging is to be present all the time, so you're always reinvigorated. A practice to strengthen this state is mindfulness. As you're engaging in any activity, maintain your presence so the mind isn't taking over and producing endless thoughts. Simplify the experience and tend to this very moment. Nothing else matters, but right here, right now, the only moment you're ever experiencing. Your power is your energy, so if the tank is always full, then nothing will seem impossible.